the next one? Nia. And what is Nia? Purpose. Each person in here has a purpose for which you've been created. And Gullah Geechees were always told we had no purpose, that our language had no value, that our traditions could be gotten and were just thrown away. But we didn't believe that. We believed that them mean for evil, but God mean for good. We believe that what God bless, no man can curse. So therefore, we continued in the purpose of self-determination in order to keep a culture going, even though that culture was being ostracized, to keep a language and traditional ways going when others didn't understand it and weren't trying to. But yet, we had others start to come in and attempt to exploit it again and try to make their own economics that had nothing to do with being cooperative about it, by making tourism, by putting brochures out with a basket on it and telling visitors come. And when you got there, you'd meet a docent that would just say, well, good afternoon, how are you? We're so glad you're here. Well, you know, we have these baskets, and the people used to make them on the plantations, and we have some ladies down the road, they still do it, you know, and things like that. But Mr. So-and-so was the one that actually owned all this here property, and this is what he used to do. But they never say to you, but Mr. So-and-so owned 1,000 African people that he had enslaved at one point. And those African people's descendants are the ones living down the road that still create those sweetgrass baskets. They're not telling you that. So again, self-determination says, well, we have to come in and re-educate these people, reprogram people, deprogram people, and let them know that part of this entire system of things has to include our people, our voice, our way, and that is our purpose for having our own nation that is internationally recognized. One thing my mother always said, the big fish, the never leave fish. And so, there are a lot of people who, for their own self-serving purposes, will take things and manipulate it. And there are others who, simply because they're uneducated about something, don't know the reality of it. So they stop at a point, but they'll sell you the little bit they know. And a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. But see, you see, what creature is on there? A turtle. What we call a cutter. Okay. And we used to nap these, but they tell us against the law, but you don't know. So we don't eat them now. we try to save them now. But you know why I point them out? Because one thing they always taught us, again, those proverbs and the stories that they shared with us, with the morals, they always told us that the truth moved like him. You see? But a lie take a jet plane. So a lot of y'all might have gotten the lies about who we were way before you got the truth, but I just deceived them, so after this year, you can carry the truth out with you. All right? That's my purpose for being here. But there's a purpose for why each of you are too. And we have to all use the next principle, which is Kumba or Kuamba, which means creativity. To be able to put together the things that we learned tonight, the things that each one of us has to offer, that each one of our cultures have brought into this land, into this world, even to this campus, so that we are able to elevate everyone, so that we have that collective work and responsibility that makes us all strong, so that we have something to share with one another. You see, it is always about being creative. African people were brought here not just for agriculture, but because they were blacksmiths, because they were herbologists, because they were healers, because they were scientists. They studied the stars, whether you call it astronomy or astrology. But they knew how and when to plant and how and when to harvest. And they took that which they harvested, and they created and reshaped the very cultural landscape of North America. So that to this day, people come in and want to learn the stories of the various peoples that have come here at different times. And at least now, they can still hear from Gullah Geechees our story. Because we have always kept, what's that last one?
Faith. Imani.
Imani. We've always kept the faith that no matter what the song might have sounded like on one evening, that it might have been a shouting spiritual one evening, and the next evening it might have done switch over to a dirge sound, and somebody might have taken it there in the juke joint to be in the blues. We never thought that was the last song that we would sing. We always had another shout coming. We always had another drum to beat, because your first drum is here. And as long as you keep it tuned and turned up, then it can always give you the right rhythm, where you can walk your self-determined self into a group of people who are all about umoja, who are going to then take their ujima and their ujama seriously. And they, when they even feel like they're up against the odds, will remember their nia. And they will have the imani to know that no matter what anybody else says, they know that if the Creator made them just who they are, of the culture that they are, at the time and space in which they exist, they serve a purpose, and that they are not going to be finished until it's over, and that they will go on into the completion of the harvest, and they can then celebrate. You don't get to the feast when you ain't harvest no food.
Amen. That's right.
And that takes some work. So the harvest for us as Gullah Geechees and the Gullah Geechee Nation is that people not only recognize now and respect the knowledge base, the skill set that our African ancestors, the Igbo, Mandinka, Malinke, Yoruba, Gullah, Gizi, Mendi, Tembi, Fiki, Bibio, and so on, brought into North America, and how they themselves were called black gold. They recognized that richness wasn't just in those cash crops as the cotton, rice, and indigo, but that richness was in that black gold that brought the knowledge of how to not only harvest that, but how to create a new circumstance, a new environment, and a new culture in another land. But never forget from whence they came. I noticed where we're going to have the reception, I noticed upstairs the Sankofa bird. The bird that has its neck going back like that. For those who don't know what bird I'm talking about, it's not broke. All right? It looks like it's flying backwards and forward all at once. It is circular, which is what our culture is. It is about the continuum, life, birth, death, afterlife. It is all part of this continuum that we never forget our ancestors. You go back and fetch it if you want to go forward. You see, you have to know, as we always say, if honey know where honey the day from, honey ain't going to where honey the going. And so I can't talk to you about celebrating Kwanzaa with 3 A's without giving the respect and homage to my ancestors who celebrated with the 2 A's even when others thought they had them in bondage, thought they had them down, thought they were enslaved. And then meanwhile they're singing, oh, freedom.
Why go? Do we go?